All right, all right. We are in the studio, y'all. I'm really excited to be here today with the good friend of mine here, Miss Michele Brown. How you doing, Michele?
Doing great.
All right, awesome, awesome. Listen, Michele is doing some great things with her company, Clarity Bridge, and I'm just really excited to be here to just let you guys learn a little bit more about Michele. I know how great she is. I want y'all to know and the great things that she's doing, the companies that she's has helped, and the companies that she's going to continue to help. This is going to be a phenomenal interview, and I'm just super excited. So we're going to jump right in. So, Michele, thank you for coming. And listen, you are doing some great things, but I want the people to just to know first off who you are. Like, tell them about a little bit about where you're from, and then, just tell them a little about your background, and then like, how you just got in the field that you're in.
Sure. My name is Michele Brown, and I'm originally from New York,
Yeah, New
but
York.
now here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've been working with Fortune 500 companies for, I'll say 2 decades. It's probably longer than that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll give it 2 decades, and really helping businesses streamline their processes, solve problems, and across industries and really different focuses: HR, payroll, time management, all kinds of. I've worked for some of the largest companies in the industry and helped some really large clients solve problems. And one of the things that I always left feeling unsatisfied with was that I couldn't totally help them. I only
Hmm.
helped them with the piece of the pie that I was representing.
That's right.
And I really had a passion. I said, one day I will be able to really be a consultant
Hmm.
and really fully consult with a company and really not just addressing one part of their business problem, but really looking at every part. And even if I can't address it, I have multiple business partners that I can refer them to, even if there are things that I am not expert in.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I want to step back a little bit. So when you got in college, like what college did you go to?
I went to Pace University in New York City.
Okay, in New York. And so what did you major in when you were there?
Management information systems,
Okay.
something completely different than what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, but I like that though. So tell me about management information system. Like, what is that specifically?
Basically, that's IT.
Okay.
That's really managing IT process security and just how companies manage their IT networks.
Okay.
So installing network systems.
Wow.
So that's completely different.
But you worked in a role where you were a project
Right.
manager, correct? Recently.
Correct. Recently, my most recent assignment was a product owner,
Hmm.
which I worked very closely with customers and just identifying their requirements for product.
Hmm. Okay.
So basically, having the client tell me what they want the product to look like. I want it to have a red button. I want it to have a green button.
Yeah.
I want it to have a gray button that says go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whatever that requirement was, I worked with the developers, the engineers,
Yeah.
and the testers in developing the exact product that the customer wanted, and then work with the testers to make sure, okay, let's test it to make sure
That it does what it's
that it
supposed to
does
do.
what it's supposed to do, and then I would actually demo it back to the client.
Oh wow. So I guess really that experience that you had in it's kind of come full circle, on in that management information system. So tell me like so what how did you get into the field that you got into? Just
Sure.
period.
So the field that I got into, I originally was a solutions architect,
Hmm. What was that?
and
What does that mean?
a solutions architect is a role that partners with a salesperson, and you're really basically the technical aspect of a sale,
Okay.
where you're making sure that the salesperson is selling the functionality that can be delivered.
Okay.
So I was basically the expert
Yeah.
of and I had that role for several clients. I mean, several employers, I'll say, that I worked for. I had
Okay.
that role. And in that role, I found a lot of times where I was addressing, like I said, a small piece of their problems,
Mm-hmm.
but I would work with the clients so much that I would befriend them, and they would say, wow, it'd certainly be nice if you could help me with this problem. And I could help them with it had I not been in the capacity that I was there in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now I'm in a position where I can take a look at total success.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe this part of your business is working perfect, but then you have these other areas that are not, you know, you're losing money, you're not in compliance, you know, you have manual processes. So I am excited that I could now look at everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And really offer a client a total solution, and not just say, here, I can fix this,
Yeah.
but good luck, maybe call somebody else to fix the
Fix
other
the other
things.
thing.
That I want to look at everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, there's some things that I may not be able to fix, but I have business partners that I can absolutely work with in addressing, you know, pretty much most of the needs that a client would have.
So speaking about that, and we're saying, okay, so, you know, because I know we're, looking at, you know, you got into these fields, and some of those fields, you were really what most people would, in a lot of cases, consider a technical expert or a tech expert in certain areas. Because I know if I'm looking at products, if I'm making sure those things happen, if I'm making sure that, hey, I am the subject matter expert in these other areas, those are some pieces that you had. But tell me now, with what you're doing with Clarity Bridge, just tell me, like, what made you, like, just tell the people, like, what Clarity Bridge is and what brought you to even wanting to do this in the first place.
Sure. Clarity Bridge is the framework that identifies any gaps that a client or a business would have in their processes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Basically, that's what Clarity Bridge. Let me bridge any gaps that you have in your current business processes.
Mm-hmm. And that's really could be from anything from the marketing to the sales to the operations to the fulfillment to the follow up to the technical things that go underneath. So it's kind of like the full scope.
Exactly. And what my goal is to go in and connect with my clients and find out what are the things that's really ailing them. Where's there's pain, or where would they maybe see, you know, an idea. I would love to have this, but I just don't have the time to implement it.
Mm-hmm.
I raise my hand.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And so if we look at, like, right now, like, who would you say, so we're going in and fixing these processes, are we, even though I know you can fix them for probably any and every business that's out there, like, you know, whether it's a small business, a medium-sized business, a large business, what are the focuses that we would say, hey, here is my ideal customer that we would focus on and go after on that end? Who would you say that would be?
My ideal customer would be a customer from, I guess, from 5 to 10 million annual revenue.
Okay.
Anywhere from 50 to 500 employees, even smaller than that.
Okay.
Where I would want to come in and take a look at what they're doing, where there may be some compliance loopholes, you know, that they are losing business or losing money, where there's some training issues, where you have the systems in place, but your people are not really utilizing the systems that you have in place, or where you have the people in place, but you don't have the right systems. So really just want to identify why things are not working.
Yeah. And so, like, so give me, like, I want to talk about some, you know, some real life examples. And I know, you know, some places we may be able to name names. I know you work for all these great big companies, but just kind of what I want to kind of look at is, like, for example, like, I know we spoke about, you know, somebody selling something on one end, but then it not being, they may have said, hey, we can do this, this, and this. We can do all of it. You know, just sign on the dotted line, you know, and that happens a lot. People make all these promises, but then they have to fulfill it. So, it goes to the technical side. Like, walk me through that and some things that you've seen in your experience and how that may be privy to what you're doing.
Sure. So with the variety of experiences that I've had, I decided to focus in on the one area that I love the most, the one that I'm most passionate about, and that's client success.
Okay.
That's client success.
What does that mean?
Client success is really making sure that a business have successful processes that work for them, where they're not losing money, where they're proactive, and where they have great relationships with their customers, where they have reoccurring revenue, which is one of the most important things. I worked with a lot of clients that they would initiate the business and the sale, but they would lose their reoccurring revenue because the service was so bad. And my goal is to make service excellent. And that's not hard. I mean, it's hard when you don't have the time, but I have the time. I have the time to examine. I have the experience and the know-how to identify where there's a service gap.
Totally.
And I really, that's my passion. That's one of the things I really want to do. One of the things I would love to do is just take a look at business processes from payroll, from HR, from equity comp, you name it. I worked with multiple industries and just take a look at it. What is ailing your business? Where are you losing money? Where do you need the help?
Totally.
And just come in, take a look at it, and let's see if I can fix it. There's some things I may not be able to, but I am not shy of taking a stab at fixing pretty much anything.
Yeah, most definitely. And you just talking about retention. And I remember looking at some of the numbers from some of the things that you were speaking of beforehand. I was like, man, so they said like a 3 to 5% increase in retention could increase profit margins by 85 to 90%.
Yes.
So just with a small increase, because I mean, you're talking about the back end profit margin. It says it takes like 5 to 7 times more effort to get a new customer than it is to keep an existing one. And so, but so just with a company, that maybe making a profit of $1 million a year, let's just say hypothetically, and then they come back and they fix a little bit on the retention, then now they're making $2 million.
Right. That's right. And the retention is really where the revenue is.
Yeah.
I mean, the initial sales are great, but the retention, that reoccurring revenue, is really where the money is for most businesses.
Totally, because you don't have the cost that you have in their initial, even with the sales reps, the advertising cost is sunk in that essentially first year or two. Those things are kind of eaten up in year one.
Yes.
So everything else is that's like pure profit. So no, I love that. And so when a company, I want you to talk about, that, and how that retention helps, because I know definitely you're talking about like how customer success, right? And that customers a lot of times, hey, you sold them, they're in there, they're doing it, but then they get in here and like, this kind of sucks. Like they sold me this big deal, but now I'm in here and it kind of sucks, right?
Right. And one of the things that I want to do, I want to look at internal processes and make sure that framework is in place and it's working.
Yeah.
But I want to look at the external relationships that clients have.
Yeah.
So many clients have external service partners that they're not getting the service from these partners that they signed up for.
So explain that.
Sure. So let's say for your business, you subscribe to a payroll service.
Okay.
And then you subscribe to a time management service.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain service deliveries that they owe you.
That's correct.
And that you expect. And if sometimes you don't know, you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're not getting. And I want to go in and I really want to peel that onion and say, who are you pretty much engaged with as far as service?
Yeah.
What service are you getting from them? A lot of clients are like, they don't even call us.
Oh yeah.
They're supposed to give us reports. They don't give us anything.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure those leaks, those financial leaks are closed. I want to make sure that delivery of what they sign up for is what they get. If they don't need it, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Maybe engage with another business that's willing to give them what they deserve or what they've signed up for. So really want to look at all areas of the business where, a client is like, hey, my business is harmony. It's harmonious. Everything's working great. That's client success.
Totally. Because at the end of the day, if the client is happy, they're going to continue to do business with you and they're going to refer other people to you.
Exactly.
Right. And when I tell people all the time, like most of us, we think that we have to go out and get these new customers, but then we look at, like, man, I remember sitting down with the one of the original founders of the Ritz Carlton, and he told me during the pandemic, he said, "JR, he said you can't," he said, you need to not try to get new customers. He said, you keep the customers you have and try to serve them as much as you can, make more money from those existing customers.
Right.
And as the thing, I was like, oh, okay, so when we're looking at that, I see a lot of people to where they are leaving money on the table.
Yes.
But not even with the services that they could offer to their existing client base, and or that client, you got them, you spend all this time on the front end. We got him in, we got it in. But then that client ends up churning out and leaving after 6 months to a year.
Right.
When if you that customer, if you would have done what you were supposed to do, would have been there 5, 7, 10 years in a business. And that's millions of dollars.
That's exactly right. Because there should be intentional follow-up. There should be intentional. There should be a CRM system in place where there's a tickler, where there's intentional follow-up. You should know more about your customers than they know about themselves.
That's right.
You should know how often they make purchases. You should know you should know when they change management.
Yeah.
You should know all those things. And a lot of times I've worked with clients where their data is old. So when they go to reach out, they're like, oh, this, garbage in, garbage out. So there's no real valid data that they can rely on.
Yeah.
And I want to help them. I want to change that. I want to show them how to be proactive, put a system in place, take a look at what you have. Let's eliminate the waste and let's be productive and let's save money and let's make some money.
Yeah, totally. Now, look, I'm all about making that money. And so, what I think about it, because it's the whole thing, that's what our whole community's based on here in the small business nation. Because so many people are out here to start companies, then they don't make any money. Right. I'm out here, got a business, they're not making any money. And that's so key. And I just tell people, like, listen, get to the point to where you spend all this time and energy paying salespeople, doing all this stuff, making this happen, acquiring a customer. You got the customer in, and you just like, you in here, and you're not really being intentional about making sure that customer is getting everything that they need post the actual sale.
Right. And I worked with so many customers where their workforce is so small where they combine roles. So your salesperson can be your implementation person.
Correct.
And that can be tough.
Yeah.
So that means what's happening is they're moving fast and they're doing a lot. Yeah. So their handoff to the service team is not going to be that great.
Yeah.
And my goal is to put the framework in place where they will capture all of the data that's needed. Basically, when that service person picks up the order, that they are, they know this client. Yeah. And there's a turnover process that takes place where they're introduced, to this client without trying to figure out and asking the client the same questions, where now the client's like, well, I'm a little bit unsure about these people. They said they was going to help and they know me, but their team
the same
members
overlap. They're not communicating.
The team members don't really know what they sold me. So I'm a little nervous now.
Yeah. And
that's not good. That's always,
because customer confidence, they could sit there and now their confidence in you can go from 100% or 90% of where it was to 50 and 40%.
Right.
Then when they're not confident in you, then they're gone.
Right.
And so that process that you have is you have a specific name that you have for that. Like, I guess really from each one of the processes to the next, or each one of the departments to the next, down the customer experience value chain, or down this chain that the customer is having when they from the time they have these pieces here. What is that called? Can you talk?
We call that handover harmony.
Okay.
And the reason that's handover harmony, because it is a process. It's the framework that's designed to make sure that that next task, that next level task, has everything that they need to do what they need to do. They have everything. So they're not saying, well, I got to call the client. Well, salesperson's in, he's gone, implementation's in, they're gone. No, I have everything that was captured from the beginning.
That's right.
And just really making sure that that's a process that remains in place, stays in place, and goes on, and it's rinse and repeat with customers.
That's great. And I love that because, when I look at even in our organization, just making sure, when we have people that help just try to make sure that the pieces are done in various areas. But I know that, as we continue to grow, and we continue to add in what we're going to do, we need to make sure, hey, now when we have 1,000 employees, say, is it the same care that it was when we had less than 100 employees?
And what would you like to capture for your customers? What kind of data would you like to capture? Would you like to send your customers birthday cards? Would you like to know when they change director level, staff? Tracking that kind of information helps you to be knowledgeable and to be very familiar with the business. I mean, I, as a business owner myself, I appreciate when someone calls me and say, hey, I know you're doing this. I saw that you just started this new, you implemented this new system. How's that going for you? Wow, you did your homework.
Yeah, totally. So tell me, you also, I know you spend a lot of time with a lot of great companies talking about, helping them with payroll also. That's what something,
Payroll is one of my expertise.
Okay. And so give the people some tips on some things you saw that went wrong that they could kind of avoid, and maybe what are some things that they can do to kind of avoid some of those things, just some things on the payroll side.
Just a lot of manual processes, just a lot of duplicated entry. I've seen people
give me some examples of the manual process and duplicate.
Manual processes is when you have your when you have a team, I will say you're a team that's manually recording data that has to be entered into the system.
Yes, extra work, like a double work.
Exactly. And what I would like to do is I would like to see what the process should look like and recommend how that data should flow.
Yeah.
And maybe make some recommendations. Maybe not, maybe save yourself some time and reutilize that manpower for something else.
Correct.
Maybe that person that's manually recording all the data, maybe they can be the audit person now because the data's in the system. So now they can be the audit person to make sure the data is correct.
Sure.
I saw lots of compliance miss. A lot of clients miss, compliance. If they did not subscribe to a tax service with a service provider, they had to do taxes themselves, and they didn't know how to read the reports and would miss their deposits, and filings were quarterly, and just penalties because you're not doing things on a timely basis, and the IRS is not going to forgive you because you didn't know.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of clients subscribe to payroll and HR services where they were signed up for things that they weren't ever even using. They were signed up for services never used, but needed to use them, but never used them, never implemented.
That's right. Didn't even know really that they were having it in the first place, and then they say, "Hey, if I got it, what do I do? How do I make it use?"
I'm paying $30,000 a year for this system, and and the only thing I'm using it for is to maybe process payroll and nothing else.
Nothing else.
So my goal is to really go in and say, if you don't need this, get rid of it. If you do need it, then let's use it. Let's put the framework in place so that you can have your staff utilize it. And as I was talking to one of your team members earlier, I was telling him how a lot of times there's a lot of turnover. Certain industries just inherit a lot of turnover.
Sure.
Well, that's fine. But what happens as a business owner, you need to protect yourself and put, maybe job aids in place and maybe training in place where that, the new person doesn't come in and get frustrated and quit because now they're overwhelmed and overloaded. So you really, really, as a business owner, just make sure your people have the expertise, the training that they need. That's why I raise my hand. I
Totally.
love doing training. I love really understanding what their job responsibility is, and then put together a process and some framework to help them be more efficient.
Totally, totally. I love that. And when we look at this entire process that we're speaking of here, just in payroll specifically, you also had an opportunity to help organizations with, and like we have a company, we have a lot of different people that I'm recruiting in, and some of that recruitment will just be based on the pay that they get, but others that we may say, hey, you know what, we want to give you a little bit of equity, a little bit of something here.
Right.
Like, and I am literally having this conversation right now with somebody who we're looking to potentially bring in and say, okay, I could just pay them straight cash, right? But what I would prefer to do is pay them less cash and give them more on the upside, because I know where our company's gonna be in 2-3 years, and I know that they, even though they could get more cash up front, but then they wouldn't have the great upside when we win. When we really win, they're like, oh man, you know what? I have this stock. Man, this stock now, I got it. Now it's worth 100,000 times what it was worth. So help me as a company, help these others as a company understand, benefits, equity, benefits
Sure.
for the employees, and
Stock
giving them a piece of the
options.
company. Yeah, stock
Yeah,
options.
stock options is a great incentive for
Yeah,
any person, and it's there's some great advantages, but then there's some things that you need to know about stock options. They're taxable.
yeah,
They're taxable, and that you have to take taxes out on those options, and you have stock grants. They have what we call release dates, meaning you get a grant for maybe 5,000 shares, and you only get a release of 1,000 shares a year. So you have a 5,000 share grant, and every year you get 1,000. Yeah, or 500.
yeah,
And then if you leave, if the agreement is severed, then everything goes away. But you are entitled to keep what you've earned.
acquired. Yeah,
Yeah, what you've earned. And there's some responsibility with taxation, and then even just knowing that. I've met clients who their employees left thousands. I'm talking about thousands of dollars on the table because they didn't know, they weren't educated about the benefits that they had. That's another area. Even just that opens up a can of worms. Employee benefits. Just educating your employees on the benefits they have, talking to your employees. And a lot of companies, if they don't have time, if they don't have a full benefits department, maybe the HR person is the benefits person. She just doesn't have time to do everything. I raise my hand. I would love to come in and do something like that and just really help to uncover and help employees really take advantage of some of the great benefits the company's offering them.
totally. So I love that, and so when I'm thinking about the pieces on the payroll side, you just being able to go in and help a lot of people, because the employees are, if they don't feel like they're being properly compensated, if they don't feel like that they're getting what they need at this point. I mean, it's and I was just speaking to a client earlier today about, she said she had been with the company, a major company, for 18 years. And I was like, wow. I said, really? I said, she's like, yeah, unfortunately. And I said, unfortunately, I was like, that's a good thing. I said, to me, that shows great loyalty. And I said, that you can stay with a company that long. Cause I said, that's not the case for most people. So, but in her eyes and in her mind, she was like, and really based on her being that long, they weren't really paying her anything. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, man, if I had a person that was working for me for that long, man, I told her, I said, I would be laying out the carpet, like, what you
Yeah.
need.
And that's another thing. Not that it's, again, what I would like to provide is consultative services. I would like to let an employer know, listen, you are grossly underpaying
Yeah.
your employees for what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at things, help with
Yeah.
compensation management
Yeah.
and planning. There's a lot of things that I may not have the expertise in, but
Yeah.
I have a lot of business partners
Yeah.
that are expert in
Yeah.
some of these things, that
Yeah.
are certified in things like compensation management.
Yeah, because if you lose an employee, they said it's like just first off, just to find another one that may take you years. And then when you find another one, they said just to every time that you train them, that costs like a third of that person's salary
Right.
just in training. So that's
I
why
mean,
I'm
I
just
agree.
I,
That's, yeah.
it's a big thing. So for me, I'm like, how can we keep them? If we can now.
Yeah, and it's just offering them incentives, making sure they know what you're offering. I've actually worked for companies where I didn't even know the benefits that they offered. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew I got paid, I knew I had health
Mhm.
and medical benefits, but there were other incentives that I didn't know anything about.
Sure.
And you just sometimes some companies are so overburdened they leave you, the employee, fish for yourself.
Yeah, figure it out.
Here's an employee manual, figure it out.
Yeah.
But one of the things I like to do is not only bring light to the business but bring light to the employees.
Yeah, correct.
So any way that I can help.
To help, because it's helping, you helping, and think some employers think, oh man, you helping them. It's not a thing about employer against employee, employee against the employer. It's like, hey, no, we're on the same team. How can we make sure that everybody's good? You know what I'm saying? So we're not sitting here trying to go back to the drawing board and find new people. It's like, okay, let me make sure I'm communicating. Like, look, and then these companies, you got benefits that you're paying for your employees on, and you're not taking advantage of it. You're wasting money.
Exactly.
Like, what is happening?
And that's like even something as devastating as death. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of companies that offer group term life insurance.
Oh wow.
Where if the spouse dies, I mean, if the spouse of another spouse dies, that person is entitled to benefits.
Wow.
And a lot of times it's just not known.
Okay.
It's just not known, but it's just really that communication. I found that with communicating with friends and communicating with other businesses. It is just important that employees know what they are, the rich benefits
Mm-hmm.
that a company offers them.
Yeah, because I mean, if I'm the company and I'm offering my employees these things and they're not taking advantage of it, that's the things that I intended for this to benefit is not doing.
No.
So, and then the monies that I'm wasting on that could have been allocated somewhere else.
Right.
And so, and that's so key. I don't know how many things outside of that people are just wasting money on.
And then every now and then, and I always say once a quarter, it is worth taking a look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every quarter you should take a look at how are we doing things.
Yeah.
How happy is my staff?
Yeah, correct.
If you don't know that, then you don't really know about your business.
Correct. No, you're right about that. And so, let's look at, I know I had spoken to you before and you were speaking about like how important the people are in an organization, and really how helping the people to make sure that they're thriving can really help with everything, increase all the, like almost every part of the business. And I know a lot of what you do at Clarity Bridge is kind of surrounded around the people. Talk to me about that.
Sure. Well, one of the things is really when I meet with companies, I really want to know how I can help better service your business. But most importantly, how do we better service your employees that are managing your business? Mm-hmm. Because if an employee is unhappy, they can wreak havoc for a business.
They sure can.
And it's really important to identify and know they're not overworked. Mm-hmm. They're happy. They're in a role that they can thrive in, not in a role that they're just there and, they're watching the world pass them by.
Sure.
So it's important that an employer takes a look at all aspects of their business. The front office of their business where they're making money, the back office, which is running the operations, and their employees, which is really the manpower mm-hmm. that they have.
That's amazing. Listen, I love that, and I mean, a lot of the core components of what Clarity Bridge kind of surrounds around making sure that that team is strong. I mean, from the communication that each department is having with each other to making sure that the people are going to stay in the position that they are long enough for this to even work. You're
Right.
not having to switch out people, retrain people, do all of these pieces.
You create processes that people can step into and follow the process.
Yep, totally.
And that way you don't have, I worked with so many companies where you had an individual that was in a job so long and the job became them. So if they left, guess what? There was a major, major disorder in the organization because they were doing things their way.
Exactly.
And you want your business to always flow according to process, compliance, and risk management first.
Yes.
And, revenue second.
Totally. Because you want to definitely be able to make sure that, if somebody leaves an organization, it's not crippling the organization, right?
Right. And I actually, I was telling your associate that I actually worked for a company where I had clients call me. I worked for a payroll company where I had clients call me and say, our payroll person quit. Can you come help us do the payroll this week? We're stuck.
Yeah.
And payroll, it's Wednesday and we need payroll done by Friday.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. And so, and that's the thing, you were seeing all these different aspects on the tech side, on the payroll side, on the customer success side, it's just all the different aspects in a company, especially in what I would say is a early stage enterprise type of organization. Really helping them this thing to really roll and really rock. And so, and you were there just helping them make sure that this thing was going to continue to get to the next stage of growth.
Right. I mean, and to get rid of antiquated processes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, a lot of times companies have antiquated processes because they have people who don't know any better and they're stuck with those antiquated processes.
Yeah.
But it's really to just look at and maybe take a look at, see if they can do things. Things change, especially with technology so often. Take advantage of technology, but don't, you can have too much technology. But just make sure you're utilizing it the right way.
Sure, totally. Because, tech, just for the sake of having tech is crazy. And that's why I tell people, I say, oh, you build an app, you do this and that. I'm like, oh, what's the point? Like, you need to make sure that you fully understand why this needs to be in place and only build tech when absolutely necessary. Only implement tech when absolutely necessary. You say, I need to have this. We need to put this process in. Okay, use that technology to help make it faster and roll on this end. But, sometimes people are automating things that shouldn't exist in the first place.
Right. And I believe in meeting people where they are. And what I mean by that is getting the company's perspective of things and processes, and then getting the person that's going to run the process, getting their perspective. There may be ideas and things that person may have, or just things that they didn't know. I was doing this for 10 years. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, totally.
Just looking at, pulling the hood up, taking a look at what's going on.
Okay, totally. So I want you to answer two things for me. Well, a couple things. First off, if you had one or two or maybe three key things, like just secrets or tips that you would give to any company, like that are around your target customer base, what would be three things that you would say to them, 2 to 3 things that you would say to them to give them some good, solid advice that they can take to the bank?
Good, solid advice. My first thing would be is, do you know your leak holes? Do you know where you're losing money? If you're losing money, do you know where the loss is coming from?
Okay.
I mean, that's key.
Yeah, making sure you know where that money is and know that you have a problem. Most of us, I remember G.I. Joe's like, knowing is half the battle. They used to say that, but if you don't even know, how can you fix it?
Yep, knowing you have a problem and knowing what the problem is.
Yeah.
And I would say the second thing would be, I would really stress, making sure you identify and understand any external relationships you have with service providers.
Okay.
Because there's so many contracts and so many people engage in relationships with third-party contractors, and they not even servicing them, not giving them anything. They just signed up and they're paying them monthly. They have a subscription. It's renewed, and they're not getting anything for it. Let's look at all of those subscriptions if you have any.
Totally, 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 totally. No, that's great. That's great. Anything else you want to
The
add?
third thing I would say is I would look, check in with the employees.
Okay.
Check in with your employees. What are they doing? What do they need? Because a lot of times, the C-suite officers, they don't know what employees need.
Correct.
So what do your employees need? Are you really getting communication from them that is valid?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Listen, I'm super excited that you were able to share this phenomenal information. Guys, and you guys can find out, okay, about Michele and everything she's doing at tryclaritybridge.com. The site is phenomenal. It has some phenomenal resources on there, some great things on there, just going on there. You can just learn so much just about what's happening in the business. So I think it's a great resource on that end. And on there too, you have a free consultation.
I do. One of the things that I encourage people to do is let's have a phone conversation first. So there's a needs analysis. And that's by phone. Maybe there's nothing that I can do for you, but there may be a lot I can do for you. So the second step is in-person analysis. And from that point, after that, then there is, I come back, I do a needs analysis, and then I come back with what I found. This is what I found. This is how I can help you with a projected project plan of this is how long it would take us to do X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
Would you like a phased approach? Would you like to do it all at once?
And
then we can engage in whether or not it makes sense to make a partnership agreement.
Totally. And and I know that you said that you're going to have a couple things that to the end of this year with a few companies. You're going to do some lunch and learns,
Yes.
Come into some companies, do some
tools,
good lunch.
Right. And just some, did you know?
Yes.
Kind of, did you know some factual things? Did you know that? And working on a newsletter. Don't have it yet, but I'm working on the newsletter.
Yeah. And I love to eat, so I'm like, hey, look, sign me up. I'm one of those companies. Come on in. It's share. Let's share. And listen, guys, I'm gonna tell you, if you're out there and you're an organization and you're like, hey, I don't know if I need this, and you like, hey, one day you may say, hey, look, let's figure out what we don't know what we're gonna eat today or tomorrow, for lunch. Hey, I would tell you, invite Michele out. She's going to have a few people that she's going to be doing this with before the end of the year. Get with her. Give your employees a treat that day and kind of hear what Clarity Bridge is saying, because I definitely know that over the years, all of these people that she's been able to help, that the value that they were able to get, and the fact that she almost, in a lot of cases, was able to help them a lot. But because of the big company she was represented did not have all of those services, she had to, stop from helping in these areas. But now that she is the CEO of this great company, she can really offer these full service, full stream solutions to companies and help them in every area. I think this is a win-win-win. I've had the pleasure of knowing Michele and the type of person she is, the character she has, and what she has to actually give and provide. And I'll just say that, hey, look, I vouch for, and I'm just looking forward to y'all doing what the website name says, Try Clarity Bridge. Okay.
And we didn't even scratch the surface of support. I mean, some of the things that we discussed here were the easy things. There's a lot more, that comes out of an analysis call where clients are like, well, I know this is not payroll, this is not HR, and this is not equity, but this is something else. Can you help me with it? Certainly, we may be able to. So I take on the challenge to take a look at things that can be fixed.
Totally. Well, listen, I'm excited. And I want to say thank you.
I'm excited as well. So, I mean, I think us offering the free lunch and learns is showing the confidence that we know that there's someone is going to identify where we can help them.
Yeah, totally, totally, and that's great. And like I said, I'm just happy that you were able to come on and share this great information with our
Well, thank
audience.
you for having me on.
Yeah, no, no. Listen, and guys, listen. I want to just say that continue check out what Michele is doing. Go to tryclaritybridge.com. Stay tuned to what we're doing right here in the Small Business Nation. Thank you once again, Michele, for coming in.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah, most definitely. And y'all listen, stay tuned, get out there, guys, and make it happen. We look forward to talking to you soon. I'm JR McNair here on Small Business Nation. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thanks.